Welcome back. Today I wanted to talk to you about celibacy and how celibacy has helped me over the last few years to discover who I truly am. So, what happened and why did I get here? A few years ago, I had an aha moment. It was an epiphany where I was like, you know what? I am done with abusive relationships. I am done with having a high tolerance for bad behavior and repeating the same patterns in relationships that I was in the past, thinking that I've done the work. I've been in therapy, I've done the healing, I've done the self-care, I've done the EFT, I've done the Reiki, I've done all of those things that, to help me become a little bit more empowered and step out of negative relationships. Yet I kept following the same pattern, but in just to different degrees and in different situations. So I just got to the point where I'm like, you know what, screw this. I'm done with this bullshit. And that's it. I don't want any more relationships in my life. So I stepped back. It was a deep dive into a period of loneliness, of darkness and pain, really feeling the pain of everything that I had gone through in that particular relationship. That was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, but in all my other relationships. And honestly, you can't get through to the other side if you're not feeling the pain. You have to feel every single emotion that comes up. You have to face every single truth about yourself and the relationship that comes up. And you have to take ownership for what that is. So I was choosing the wrong people. It happened over and over again, as I mentioned. And even though they were not always the same type of people, there were very similar circumstances that kept coming up. And this high tolerance for negative behavior, which I thought I had a cap on, which I learned from society and my culture and the way that my mother was in her relationship and all the other women in my family, but in particularly my mom, it just became a part of who I was. And I realized that I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want my children to be those type of people. I needed to heal myself. And as I mentioned to you before, when you heal yourself, you heal 3 generations before and 3 generations ahead. And it was not something that I wanted my girls to go through. I was tired of feeling drained, tired, unhappy, and most of all, empty. Just empty, even though there was a lot of pain, but at the same time, it was just this emptiness wound in my soul that I needed to guard and protect and to just be with. I needed to feel it. I needed to feel it. I needed to feel it all. So, once going through those few years, in the beginning, it was quite difficult. As I said, it was quite lonely. I wasn't really sure, was I doing the right thing? Showing my girls that now I'm I'm done with men. I don't want this. I went through this anger period where I'm, screw them and this, that, whatever. But I needed to feel that too, because the anger is what's going to make you push yourself a little bit further forward, right? To take action. And my action was to just stop and be with myself. And then over the next maybe 1.5 to 2 years, maybe it was about the 2-year mark. Yeah, it did take me a little bit longer than I would have liked, but that's okay. Everything in divine timing. It wasn't until about the 2nd year where I realized that, you know what, this is pretty damn good. I started setting better boundaries for myself in all of my relationships. And I wasn't seeing anybody, like as I said, no dating, no nothing. I didn't even really have conversations with men of somebody of the opposite sex at all. So, but either way, even if it was just somebody that I, was talking to at the grocery store or through work, clients, whatever the case may be, I had better boundaries that I was setting all across the board for women as well, even with my children, although that is one of the hardest things for me to do. That has also started to come to fruition so that I can contain some of my own energy rather than giving it away. I also had much more time for me. I started doing the things that I enjoy doing, like taking walks in nature, go for coffee. Going for tea in the morning is one of my favorite things to do. Whether it's, I don't want to say Starbucks because I don't really like to promote Starbucks, but sometimes that's what's available to you, or wherever it may be. There's a really beautiful place on Main Street close to where I live, and there's some water there. And just to be out there first thing in the morning, just having a tea by myself, just to gather my thoughts, being in silence. I can't tell you how many jewels of wisdom that I received during those moments. Just a few things in silence and receiving the messages that I needed from Spirit. Not to mention how healing it is in being in nature, right? Not having to perform. I don't have to perform for anybody but myself. And that, my dear friends, is golden in and of itself. It gave me time to heal my wounds, to forgive, to learn my patterns, why I believed that it was okay to be abused, even covertly, in ways that I didn't think that were happening at the time, but looking back, I can see where I went wrong and what red flags that I refused to see at the time. And discernment, my discernment now, my bullshit radar, first of all, is like through the roof, right? So you can't get past me with your bullshit anymore. And so my discernment, therefore, is also better. Where I'm still lacking, though, is discernment in terms of people who are just friends, even women, or people who are supposedly mentors. I tend to put them a little bit too much, like too high on the pedestal, and I'm still working on my discernment in terms of realizing what their motives are and what makes them tick. I gave myself enough time to forgive. Forgiveness is so important because I don't want to be hanging on to that shit. I've let all of them go, and my past partners, and I hope that they do well. I really don't want to hang on to any of that negative karmic energy anymore. Why? I'm just holding my own chains. I could just break those. I don't need anybody else to do that but myself, right? So what else? It's also let me set higher expectations of people who are coming into my life. So there is more equality in give and take. I do expect a certain level of respect for me, for my boundaries, and in terms of what information I want to exchange with people. And most of all, it has given me the time to become the woman that I've always wanted to be. The kind of woman that I've always known that I am deep within myself. And finally, the expression of who she really is. Stepping out of my victimhood and coming into a co-creator and almost into, I'm stepping into leadership now. Here's where the leadership is coming in. But I'm stepping out of that victim mode. I'm taking back my power, even in other aspects of my life where I'm going back and, readdressing some legal issues with my ex, which I had put off for like 8 years. Now it's time to go back and face the music and deal with all the stuff that I didn't want to deal with before. Taking this time for myself and for my children, I have more time for my girls. And being there for my children is second most important on the list. The first is me now, but they are second on the list. So that wouldn't have happened if I didn't find this place. And finally, I think one of the best things I've discovered being on my own is what my core wounds are. We all have different core wounds, and some of us have the core wound of betrayal. Like that is one of my core wounds. And so now, knowing that I have the core wound of betrayal, thanks to the help of tapping into the Akashic Records and actually seeing what my soul blueprint is and figuring out who I am, how I was designed to be that way, and what that's supposed to teach me in order to move forward with my life, I can reframe my past experiences every time that I was in a situation of betrayal. What did it teach me? I know that people get tired of hearing, oh, what did you learn from that experience? But it's not true, right? You're always learning something about each relationship that you went through that ended up in whether you were victimized or betrayed or you felt unworthy, which is another core wound. And how I let that pattern continue in my life and usurp all my other relationships and continue to put myself in that victim mode. And then learning all that and seeing the patterns of my mom and her relationship with my father and her relationship with my brother and all the other men in her life, and just understanding more of who we are as women, that we were socialized in this culture, that it was okay to be abused, that it was okay to be betrayed. So learning that, and then getting a new perspective on it, I'm able to look more into the future as to, I'm building, like as I said, I'm building better boundaries. My bullshit radar is through the roof. So discernment, like I will never be screwed over in another relationship again. I can honest to God say that 100%. I'm able to give trust where trust is due. Okay, and again, the high tolerance for inappropriate behavior, there is no tolerance for inappropriate behavior. Clear and simple. And that is it. And if I didn't learn all of these things, and if I didn't have the courage to move forward, and I didn't have the balls really to stand my ground, I wouldn't have been able to get to this place where I am clearing myself of the past. I know exactly where I want to go in the future. I'm setting more time to step into this leadership role, to put out these videos and to reach more people's lives. And hopefully when I develop my programs, I'm going to help other women who are just like me, who are trapped in these relationships, who are trapped in victimhood, who are trapped in their core wounds, and sitting in their codependence and not being able to address any of those issues, to move forward, figure out where the hell you are now, move forward with your life so that you can be a co-creator with your life and actually live the life of your dreams. And let it be beyond your wildest visions and your wildest hopes, because I know that it is possible. I am here. I'm in the midst of something so powerful. I can feel it. I can feel it. And I'm so looking forward to working with more and more of you. So if you liked this video, if it offered you any kind of guidance or inspiration, please like it, subscribe, and if there's any way that I can help you through your journey with the Akashic Records, please visit my website and set up a meeting. I would be honored to work with you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.